Hello everybody and welcome to another Twilight Zone review. Today it is Season 3, Episode 18, Dead Man's Shoes, written by Charles Beaumont and starring Warren Stevens as Nate. And let me just say before I get into this episode, there's two ways to look at it. You can look at it as a somewhat ridiculous but fun episode to watch, or you can not buy into it and just say it doesn't really make sense. As for me, I'm kind of in the middle. It's fine, but ultimately there's not really much to this one. So I'll get into it. We start with a car, and they're dumping out a dead man onto the road, basically dumping his body into some kind of alley or something. And there's a homeless man on the street, and after a few minutes he notices this body. So of course he inspects him looking for stuff, and he notices that this guy has some pretty nice shoes on. So he decides to take off his shoes and put these shoes on, and that's really the premise for our episode. Okay, like I said, you either buy it or you don't. So we start with him walking down the street, and he's approached by two other men, and they want to know where he's been, and they notice his new shoes. And all that really is a scene to set up what will happen basically at the end of the episode. So, he leaves and he goes to visit a lady. Her name is Wilma. And she thinks initially that it's a man named Dane. And, she finds out that it's not him, that it's really our buddy Nate here, the main character. And she doesn't seem too happy to see this guy because she doesn't know who he is or where he came from. And I'll get into that more in a little bit. So he acts like he knows this lady. I'm not really sure how he knows her, if he got the information from maybe a wallet he took that Dane knew this lady. I have no idea. It really doesn't make any sense. But anyway, he goes into another room and he finds a gun and he loads himself with that, which will be important later. He also finds some money. He decides to shave. I have no idea why he's just doing these random things, but whatever, you just got to go with it. So in the meantime, Wilma's outside. She's calling to find out what happened to Dane. She finds out he's not available right now. In the meantime, Nate has taken off these shoes, and when he opens the door, Wilma's there, and she pulls a gun on him. She wants him to leave. But then he explains, we find out these were Dane's shoes, and he says he stole them, even though we know differently. So she doesn't seem to totally buy this. She still wants him gone. But then he gets more assertive. He takes the gun from her and asks for a drink. So he gets his drink and they chat, and Nate talks about all he wants is her. Where did this come from? I have no idea. I guess he really likes this lady. So he kisses her. At first it almost seems like she's kind of into it, but then she backs away and says, "You're not Dane," and she cries and he slaps her. This guy's not really very nice, to say the least. So then basically he says he'll be back. He has unfinished business to take care of. And she's crying and not happy. And that does make sense. I don't blame you, lady. I wouldn't want this guy to come back either. But he won't, don't worry. So we go to what I guess would be considered the second half of the episode. At this point, and Nate goes into a club and he orders a drink, tequila with sugar. They keep bringing this up. Is this supposed to be some great drink or something? I don't know. It's almost done in a humorous way. This guy almost tries to order like he's James Bond. I don't know if this was supposed to be serious or funny, but it's just odd. And he's looking at three men at a table, and these are the three guys that threw the body out of the car at the beginning, so I think you can probably see where this is going. And Nate keeps staring at them, so one of the guys invites him over to the table to talk to Mr. Daggett, who is the head man in charge, and Nate says, "I have a private message for you, but it has to be private." Now, the dialogue in these scenes is pretty cheesy and pretty bad, to be honest. I don't know if they're trying to talk like tough talk, but it doesn't really come up. It comes across as almost done like in a parody type style. I'm not sure how this was supposed to be taken, but I didn't take it very serious. And basically when we get to it is, when they get in the room, Nate says, "I know you're the one who killed Dane. I know what you've been up to." And so this basically makes Mr. Daggett upset. And when he had come in the room, they had searched him for a gun, and they had found one, but Nate has a trick. He had another one, either in his pants or his shoe. I'm not really sure. And he shoots I guess one of the, I'll call him henchmen for lack of a better term. He shoots him. The guy was in hiding, pretty good. And then, but the other henchman shoots him. And while he's on the floor dying, he says he'll be back to get him. Whatever that's supposed to mean. But I do actually know what he means, and I'll get into that in a minute. So we then go back to how the episode started. They get rid of his body, Nate's body. They dump it in the same location where they dumped the other guy. Might want to try a different location there. That might make more sense. I'm just saying. And another man, one of the other homeless men, I think they're homeless, I'm not really sure, not well off men, whatever you want to say, finds the shoes and he puts them on, and the whole cycle's probably going to start all over again. This episode isn't really one to take too serious. It's fun to watch if you just go with some of the implausibilities of the plot, and that's how I took it. You could really rip this episode apart, and that would probably be fair, but I'm not going to. It's fine. It's entertaining for a watch. Just don't expect any earth-shattering, thought-provoking episode. So I give Dead Man's Shoes a 2.5 out of 5. It's watchable, so 2 out of 5 for Dead Man's Shoes, and as always, thanks for watching.